Okay, so folks, it's 7:30, and my name is Rick Caron. I want you to be sure that you silence your microphones. Background noise does disturb everybody. And if you find that suddenly you're muted, that's me that's doing that, so I'll also watch that. I will be the moderator, and I'll be there to help handle questions towards the end. There's a chat room, so if you just mouse down to the bottom of your screen, you should see a chat. If you click on that, and I already see that there are 6 people that have chat messages. I'll be watching the chat messages, and so if you have a question, you can always put it there, and we'll try and make sure it gets covered. And with that, I think, we should say that the chat room gets recorded, as does this presentation. And for all of the District Assembly presentations, once they're done, the videos will go to Liz Smith. She's going to edit them, and then we'll make them available to everyone in the district. So I want to introduce our presenters. Steve Allis is with the Southgate Rotary Club. He's now serving at least his second year, maybe third year as membership chair. Second year as membership chair, and doing a really fine job of it. And he's joined with Nick Krasic from the LaSalle Rotary Club. Nick is known around the world for having created a vibrant club. And a lot of the documents you see in Rotary International are based on his experiences. And so he'll talk to you about what it means to have a vibrant club and how that can change your membership profile and increase your members as well. So with that as introduction, everyone, please unmute your microphones. And if you're on a cell phone, I know some people on cell phones, I can't mute your cell phone, but you can mute your cell phone it's yourself if you would do that. Okay, Steve and Nick, if you're ready to share, away you go.
Thank you, Rick. Appreciate it. First of all, before we start, I wanted to take a moment and give a big Rotary thumbs up to Rick Caron, the one and only Rick Caron. He's known by many names throughout the district, but I'll add one more, the Wizard of Zoom. For without Rick's tireless effort, none of the president-elect or district training would really be possible. So thank you very much, Rick. We appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
All right, tonight, good evening and welcome to the Nick and Steve Virtual Membership Roadshow. My partner tonight, Nick Krasic, and I will cover several topics. The first will be communicating with your members. Secondly, we're going to cover looking within, or what we call the Rotary Health Club check. Third will be attracting and retaining new and existing members. And then fourth will be why you need to conduct an exit interview, and we'll end up with a question and answer session. Again, as Rick pointed out, please chat your questions in. We'll try to catch them as we go along. Additionally, Rick will post our email addresses, both Nick and mine. So he'll put them in the chat room for you. So if you have any need to contact us for questions later on or other information, please do so. I'd like to start out by complimenting the clubs. What a great job they are doing conducting virtual meetings. It just shows how adaptable and innovative Rotarians can be. I'd like to quote past District Governor Wayne Titus. He just coined the phrase, "Our community today is our club." Communicating with your fellow members is a priority. It starts with phone, email, and/or text contacts. I've even seen a club that uses electronic greeting cards to stay in touch with their members. Our members' usual routines, their social contacts, and economic reality may be and probably are disrupted, and that could be a huge source of stress for them. Check in with them, ask how they and their families are doing. Let them talk, give them a chance to vent a bit, and ask if there's anything they need. Remember, we are all in this storm together, but we are not all in the same boat. Your fellow members' circumstances and source of stress are probably very different from yours. Consider embracing virtual platforms like Zoom. You can now easily invite speakers and other Rotarians and clubs from anywhere in the world to your club meeting. You can invite club alumni, no matter where they might be living now. You can reach out to former exchange students, interact, Rotaractors, members that you don't connect to at all, and have them join your online meetings. If you are comfortable doing so, consider posting your club meetings on our district website, on social media, and now, if you check the district website under the meeting alternative page, you will see a list of Rotary clubs meeting around the world. And I noticed several of our clubs have posted on that also. And we are seeing visitors coming in from all over the world to your club meeting. Make sure your club has a digital and public presence in the community. Membership and public awareness of Rotary go hand in hand. In my club, for instance, of the last 10 members who have joined, 6 of them have found us. We didn't find them. We're going to turn now to looking within your club. Since face-to-face gatherings are not allowed at this time, now is a perfect time to do a Rotary Club meeting health check. You can go to the RI Learning Center, Is Your Club Healthy, to do a checkup. It's easy to find. You simply just Google Rotary Learning Center Club Health Check, and it will bring it up and you can access it. I'd like to quote Rotary International President-elect Holger Kanak, and he is asking you to consider taking everything to zero in your club at this time. Review everything: club traditions, meals, location, meeting times, and consider incorporating digital virtual participants into your future club meetings when face-to-face gatherings are going to be allowed. It's a great opportunity for guests and speakers to not only be able to attend, but they don't have to drive to get there. Consider conducting classification and diversity reviews to see what members you are missing. And never, under any circumstances, forget to celebrate new members and to recognize club members' efforts. With that, we'd like to move into the area of attracting and retaining new and current members. And for that, I'd like to turn it over to my partner for tonight, Nick Krajicek.
Thank you, Steve. And hello to everyone, all members of Super District 6400. Great to see everyone, all my friends that I haven't seen for a while. Nice to see you all virtually. So I want to just share with you some tips and tricks on attracting and retaining our members. And the first thing I'd like to talk about is, why do people join Rotary? And this research was based on extensive research done by Rotary through a firm called Siegel and Gale, a global international firm, several years ago. So the data and the research was quite extensive. And what they found was people join Rotary for several reasons, but the top 2 reasons were, number 1, for service, and number 2, for fellowship. And then they looked at the data and looked at all the members who remained in Rotary, and they found out the same 2 reasons were in effect, but they were flip-flopped. People stayed in Rotary for number 1, fellowship, and for number 2, service. So what is our value proposition that we offer new members and the value proposition to retain existing members? I would propose we offer these values to prospective members: service and fellowship. And so I think it's our obligation to deliver this value proposition. So many times we lose members because we're not giving them what our value proposition was: service and fellowship. And beyond that, there's 3 other things I want to mention that are also our value proposition. Thirdly, I believe we offer as an organization these 3 things that no other organization offers as a collective. Thirdly, we offer leadership skill development and enhancement skills. We in Rotary bring in leaders and we make them better leaders. So when I talk about leadership skill development enhancement, I'm talking about such things as public speaking skills. And we now have a new partnership with Toastmasters International. And a little further on in our talk tonight, Steve is going to talk a little more in depth about that. Secondly, we offer people board of director skills. We offer event planning. we offer project management. And fourthly, we offer networking. And I think it's important to remember that the original reason Rotary started under Paul Harris was as a network organization. Purely out of networking did Rotary come. And we have to, I think, realize that a lot of young professionals join Rotary for all of the reasons I just mentioned above, but they're also looking for networking opportunities. And so Steve is going to mention this a little while in the talk as well, but I think it's one thing to think about inviting the Chamber of Commerce to speak to your clubs. Steve is also going to mention some Rotary clubs are members of their local Chamber of Commerce as a value proposition to their Rotarian members. And I think one of the things that some clubs are doing for their existing members, not just new members, but for all members. For example, my club of LaSalle, every other meeting or couple meetings, we will allow 2 or 3 or 4 members about a 30-second to a minute time and let them talk about their business, what they do, what products and what services they offer. And it's a really cool thing to do because after being in Rotary for a lot of years, I am just finding out what some of my members do in their profession. And it's a nice way to know. And if I need their services, I can trust that they're going to do a good job. So people leave Rotary because clubs are not often delivering on the promise that we said. Imagine a business that said, I am going to offer you service products A, B, and C. And you arrive in the store and they provide none of those services. You wouldn't be a customer of that business for very long, I would suppose. So it's a matter of delivering on our value proposition and our promise. And our club turned around markedly several years ago when we looked at that data and we restructured our meeting schedule based on the data. So what we did, we now have one meeting a month that is a fellowship meeting. We have another meeting of a month that is a hands-on service project. Again, promising and committing to our value proposition. We have a third meeting where we have a speaker. And interestingly enough, now that we're in the virtual platform, it's possible to have renowned international speakers and local speakers to also join your club speaking list. And fourthly, we do a club assembly where we discuss club business, fundraising events, event planning, etc. And I think going forward, it'll be an interesting when we're able to meet in person again as a Rotary Club, whenever that may happen. But I can see meeting in person for fellowship and service projects, but I can also see still using the virtual platform for a speaker program, especially if it's an international speaker that obviously we don't have to pay for travel. If it's a local speaker, you may or may want to use the virtual platform or an in-person platform. And especially for our board meetings, our committee meetings, and our club assembly, I definitely see us using a virtual platform. People don't have to travel, there's no cost, they can stay at home, time, etc. The next thing I'd like to discuss is tips and tricks for attracting new members. One of the things we found out, as well as several successful clubs, is when you're looking to attract a new member, I think it's really important to make the personal touch, a personal phone call, meeting in person for a coffee, as opposed to an email or a text. That way we have that human interaction when we're pitching them or proposing or explaining to them what is Rotary and what we do in Rotary. And I think one of the other important things is when you're inviting your potential new member for the first time to come to your Rotary meeting, I would suggest that it would be important to invite them to a fellowship meeting or a service meeting. Because after all, if you look back at what I just said about the data, people join for service and fellowship. So it makes sense to invite them to one of those meetings as opposed to a club assembly or the club's annual financial statement or, you know, one of those not so exciting meetings. And to that point, I think Steve really has a very interesting story about how to invite a member to their first prospective meeting. Steve, you want to take it from there?
Thank you, Nick. Appreciate it. Several years ago, well, many years ago, when I was first in Rotary, one of the most exciting things that happened to me was I had a friend who ran a business, and I've known her for a long time. She was in a situation where her youngest child was going off to college, and her husband were empty nesting it. And she was interested in getting involved, even though I had been talking to her about Rotary, but now it was time that she thought youth services would be something she'd like to get involved in. Being so excited to get that new member, I got her to come to the very next Rotary meeting. Turns out I hadn't thought it out very well. So it turned out that we had only about 6 members who showed up, very little Rotary business whatsoever. As we were sitting there having lunch, 2 of my members got into an argument over a $10 bill that one thought the club shouldn't pay for and the other one thought the club should. And lo and behold, 20 years later, I've never seen that person inside a Rotary room since. So my point is simple. Be careful what you invite them to. Think about it ahead of time. Back to you, Nick.
Thanks, Steve. The other thing I'd like to chat about is many members have left our organization because they were unaware of what was expected of them as a member. For example, how often they would have to attend meetings, what the cost of meetings were, what their functions were in committee meetings, and et cetera. And what would often happen is several months would go by and certain club members would work really hard with these members to educate them about Rotary and put hard invested time into them. And then 6 months goes by and they would leave. And everyone would feel very frustrated. So our club came up with a way to get around this issue. And we came up with 2 letters and we changed our club application form to reflect the expectations of members. And I'm going to share them with you and I'm going to bring them up on the screen shortly. But what I'd like to say is I'm going to read them aloud in their entirety just because the print is a little bit small. It's not going to take very long. But what I'd like to say is if you don't have to take snapshots of them or write down, because all of these forms are available on our District 6400 website under our membership section, and they're available for you to download and actually tweak and change to how your club may or may not want to use them. I'm just going to click on my share screen. And I'm going to bring up the first document, which is the letter that we send out to potential new members. And it has our club heading on it. And it goes like this. It says, "Are you interested in changing the world?" The Rotary Club of LaSalle Centennial was established in 2005 and reflects the diversity of the greater Windsor-Essex community. With representation from a wide variety of vocations, our members include men and women who volunteer to improve the quality of life for those in need in the local and global communities. Rotary is a volunteer organization with more than 1.2 million members, 35,000 clubs in over 200 countries and geographical areas, with 1,600 members in our own District 6400, which encompasses Michigan and Southern Ontario. It initiates humanitarian projects that address today's challenges affecting the world, such as hunger, poverty, and illiteracy. I am proud to belong to such a great organization and would like to invite you to consider becoming part of our club. What you may not know is all of the great things we have done in our local community, such as stocking 2 local school libraries with books, hosting annual youth leadership conferences for local students, providing Christmas dinners for families in need, and helping to provide a handicap use lift for the swimming pool at St. Clair College. We also provided the Vollmer Complex with the Rotary Room, an all-purpose meeting room. In 2011, we created a resource center at the new Windsor-Essex Therapeutic Riding Association, which involved donating all the furniture, computers, and book units. This project will help parents and guardians update themselves on new treatments and therapies. We also do great things around the world, such as provide clean water to numerous communities in India, Mexico, and Africa. In June of 2011, we completed a basic water filtration project, which provided clean drinking water to 1,200 people. We sponsor local students to study abroad, host 1 student from another country to attend a local school, and participate in Rotary International's worldwide quest to eradicate polio. Please take a moment and review the enclosed information regarding LaSalle Centennial Rotary Club or email us at lasallecentennial@gmail.com for more information. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Rotary LaSalle Centennial and Twitter at twitter.com/Rotary LaSalle. Now, this next paragraph I think is very important, and we instituted it a couple years ago, and it says, Rotary membership also offers great value. The opportunity to network with the community's leaders as a result of relationships built cannot be found in any other organization. Public speaking skills, fundraising skills, project management, running a committee, and board of director skills are but a few of the opportunities that exist in Rotary. If membership is something that you are interested in, we will invite you to attend 3 meetings as our guest. Then after that, if you are interested, we will welcome you into LaSalle Centennial Rotary Club, where service above self is more than a motto. Thanks for your time, and I look forward to hearing from you. Yours in service, Nick Krajicic, Membership Chair, Rotary Club of LaSalle Centennial. So that has been very useful for explaining to new members what it is our club does and what the expectations are. And the second useful document is this one. We call it Frequently Asked Questions, Becoming a Member of the Rotary Club of LaSalle Centennial. So we explain to the members, when do we meet? We meet every Tuesday evening at Essex Golf and Country Club from 6:30 to 7:30. How much are the dues? The membership dues are $220 per year. Membership for students and young professionals under the age of 30 are half price, or $110 per year. We felt it important to give young professionals a break starting out in our organization and our club. Then we say, is there a weekly fee? There's a $5 administration fee each week. To avoid paying weekly payments, the treasurer collects $50 twice a year in January and July for a total of $100. This amount is based on the 50% attendance requirements as outlined below. Is attendance required? You are required to attend a minimum of 50% of the meetings. If you attend a club fundraiser or a committee meeting, this can count as a meeting as well. What would be asked of me if I joined the club? Simply to give what you can. You will be asked to sit on a committee. You will find there are many opportunities to be involved and pick those that best fit. Will there be someone to help me along as I learn? We will assign you a seasoned member / mentor to help you along the way. Is the club involved in politics or religion? Rotary is non-political, non-religious organization. How do I know if it's right for me before I make a commitment? We invite you to attend 3 meetings as our guest. Take time to learn about our group and to see if it is a fit. After 3 meetings, if you are interested, you are welcomed into the club. And lastly, what is the next step for me to become a member? Contact the club by email at lasallecentennial@gmail.com, and we will be happy to help you along your way. And lastly, we tweaked our membership application letter. And it's a lot like most of our application letters are, but what I want to address is several key points that are important. Other than the demographic and the occupation, if we thought it was important, we have a question now. Why do you wish to join the Rotary Club of LaSalle Centennial? We feel it's important to know why are they joining our club so that we can address their concerns and make their fit as best possible. Next question we ask them is, what do you want to accomplish at Rotary? Next, we ask them, what do you hope to gain from Rotary? And lastly, we ask them, what are your hobbies and interests? And this helps us to put them on the appropriate committees, fundraisers, etc., that they are interested in. So many times a new member joins and they say, great, you're on the finance committee, and they have no interest in finance committee or membership or whatever. So it's important to have the best fit for them. So I'm just going to get rid of these documents. And the next thing I'd like to discuss, and let me stop share screen here. There we go. The next thing I'd want to discuss with everyone is the newest successful club model that is attracting and retaining most of the new members in Rotary. Now, I'd like to preface this by saying, this model is for your information purposes only. If you are already in a club, a traditional club, whether it's a morning club, an afternoon club, a dinner club, and you are functioning well, God bless you, we are not looking to change anything. If your club model is successful, we applaud that and say carry on. The most successful new club models are, if I may say, is the cocktail model. And this is a after hours club model. For example, our Club of LaSalle is considered a cocktail club. So we meet for 1 hour from 6:30 to 7:30. The number one thing is we believe as professionals, you have to have a good location. Professionals want to come to a good location. Secondly, in order to attract younger professionals, we felt our meeting is only 1 hour long because we felt we wanted them to come right after work and be able to get home to their family and their children and still have dinner at a reasonable time. So our meeting is 1 hour. We do not have dinner. We do not sing. We do not pray. We have to remember that Rotary is a non-religious, non-political organization. The third thing is we no longer have a fine session. We have happy notes. Now, I'd like to say if your club has a tradition of fines and it's done in good fun and collegiality, by all means, I think it works for many clubs and I would by no means suggest you have to stop that. But for a lot of new members, a lot of these fines can be perceived as derogatory because they don't know the relationships of the fine master and his fellow members. So I think it's just important to watch how the fine sessions are run. Fourthly, there are new membership models out there, such as family memberships, corporate memberships, and we could spend a whole talk just going over these, but they're very successful models being incorporated into the new membership models. If you are interested at all in any of these models, please give myself or Steve an email or a call, and we'll be happy to spend some time giving you those documents and describing how those models work. And fifthly, one of the best new successful models are satellite clubs. And Stevie, I think you've got some really good information on this. So if you could take it from here, that'd be appreciated.
Thank you, Nick. I appreciate that. When we talk about satellite clubs, I have to give you a story about my club. I'm with Southgate Rotary. We are a traditional lunch club. And for all practical purposes, we have now become what I call schizophrenic. We have our happiness with our lunch club, but we also realize that some of our members can't make those meetings. They're the younger members especially. They can't get off work. They can't come to those meetings. It's not possible for them to get in. Now with the Zoom platform, we're hoping we're going to see more of them. But at this point in time, we still continue or plan to continue with what we call a satellite alternative. So what we do is we partner with other clubs in our area and work with them for social times in the evening. I can tell you, as I go around the district, there are all types of different models for satellite clubs. If you go to Trenton, they run a satellite club. If you go to Windsor 1918, they have a very successful satellite club. So there are all types of models and ways that you can do both, that you can be a traditional morning club or a traditional lunch club or a traditional dinner club and still run social satellite clubs that fit that need. So I think that's something that you have to think about doing. Eventually, what I feel will happen is those satellite clubs will become the clubs of the future as our other clubs slowly drift away. But for right now, we can do both. So think about how we can help you do that. We're here to help you, and that's what we'd like to do. Back to you, Nick.
Thanks, Steve. Ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, it's really about perfect engagement rather than perfect attendance. Now, we still highly regard perfect attendance, don't get me wrong, but Rotary's new club flexibility models lets clubs be able to engage members in perfect engagement. Please visit District 6400's website for our new and updated membership section, which has all the documents we showed you just now and many more. Thank you, everyone. Back to you, Stevie.
Thank you, Nick. Appreciate that. I wanted to add a few things about some of the tips and tricks that you can use to not only attract new members, but to engage existing members. There are several, but I look at it a little different than Nick does. When Nick thinks about attracting a new member in, I think of it more as inviting them out on where I would take them for a first date. I want it to be a first-class experience and a memorable one for them. I learned my lesson 20 years ago. Be careful what you invite them to. Think about what you invite them to. Put some thought into it. and then take them to something classy and special. Let them be awed and impressed with Rotary from the very beginning. For instance, years ago, we were in Mackinac Island at district conference, and I have a buddy of mine who wanted to go to Mackinac Island. He wasn't a member of Rotary. So I told him, hey, you know, you can split a room with me, come up to Mackinac Island, hang out with some really great people and have a good time. So he did. He came up there. He got to meet a bunch of Rotarians. He sat in on some of the events and celebrations that we had going on that year. And lo and behold, he joined our club shortly thereafter. So think about the experience that you give that person the first time they engage with Rotary. The other thing that I wanted to talk about a little bit is if your club is anything like mine, our leadership training pretty much consists of, hey, do you want to be president next year? And that's pretty much how we train our leaders in my club. And that is a terrible system to do. So as Nick alluded to earlier on, we have started to partner with organizations that develop leadership skills where our club fails to do that. Now, there are some clubs in the district who handle this well, but if your club is not handling it well, then we are making available to you not only Toastmasters, which Rotary International has partnered with, and we now have the ability to have Toastmasters come in, speak to your club, tell you about what they can do. And Rotary has worked out an arrangement where the first 2 sessions of Toastmasters, the first 2 training modules that they get, how to develop a speech and how to deliver a speech, are no cost. So we're going to have those people available to you throughout the district so that they can come and talk to your club. And it might be a feature that you can add to help train leaders. The other thing that my club has done, and I know there are several other clubs in the Downriver area, we have joined the Chamber of Commerce. The advantage of that is all my members are now chamber members, and the chamber, we have partnered with them in my club so that their young professionals group are now available to all of my Rotary members. So my members can not only get their networking capabilities and be able to get exposed to that, but they also get leadership and training skills from that. So think about the different organizations that are around you that offer some of the value propositions that we want to give our members and that make it easy for you to deliver those services without having to invent everything from scratch. There are 2 new tools that are coming up in Rotary that you're going to hear an awful lot about. The first is the Peace Chain, and the second is the Rainbow Connection. So I'm going to talk about the Peace Chain first. I see District Governor Knoll is our District Governor-elect on board today, and these are his brainchild, but they are things you're going to have available to you, what I call extra tools for membership for us to be able to not only attract new members, but also to engage and retain our existing members. The Peace Chain is an opportunity for you to reverse the normal process of trying to get a new member into your club. The normal process is we usually sit down with someone, we talk to them, and we show them just how awesome we are and why they should join us. Well, when we take the Peace Chain, we can reverse the process. We can bring that person in and we can tell them how awesome they are, what they are doing in the community. And we can make them a Peace Chain Award winner and honor them at Rotary as a guest speaker or as just a participant at one of our meetings. But no matter what you do, don't forget to ask them to join Rotary when it's over with. A lot of times these people are interested in Rotary, but nobody seems to ask them. So think about that as a tool to help bring new members into you. And I'm going to do as I'm talking about the Rainbow Connection, I'm going to share a screen with you for a second. And that screen is going to show you the basics of the Rainbow Connection while I talk about it. The Rainbow Connection is an opportunity, well, let's put it this way. To me, it looks like a mini Rotary Action Group. I know Rotary Action Groups from RI, but now I see in my district that there are a number of small groups of very dedicated professional people who will deal with specific problems that Rotary wants to engage in. Take the very first one, disease treatment and opioid prevention. That is an incredibly dedicated group. What can they do for you as a Rotary club? First of all, they can give you phenomenal speakers in the area of delivering good information about what is going on in this area. The second thing that they can do for you is they are going to offer to you opportunities for your members to be engaged in service that is a passion to them. So as they come in and as they talk about their particular area of focus, that area of focus is also going to offer different service opportunities other than just check writing to your members. So think about how those two things, the Peace Chain and the Rainbow Connection, are going to be additional tools in your toolbox to not only attract new members, but also to go in and engage your existing members and maybe slow down some of that backdoor loss that we keep experiencing. I'm going to stop sharing here. You don't need to copy that down. I guarantee you, District Governor-elect Knoll is going to make sure one of those pamphlets is in your hand very shortly, if it isn't already. So those are coming very fast for you. So let's talk about a few additional tips and tricks that we might be able to use. I always ask people whenever I meet them, I don't care where it is, for a business card. If there's something, if they're in business and they want to promote themselves, which most people usually do, they make a great opportunity to be a speaker and come into your club and to engage with you. And even if they're not going to be a Rotary member, they can become a friend of Rotary. They can help support the projects that we do. They can help support the fundraisers that we do. They can help be somebody that is integral to your club being a success. So think about that opportunity to do that. I go through the local business. I go through the chamber. Each week they send out a nice little notice that talks about news and notes. And I take a look at all the new businesses that are coming into the chamber and getting involved. And the first thing I do is pick up the phone and call them and see how they're doing. Welcome to my community, and find out if they'd be interested in coming in hearing about Rotary or getting on my email list so that they can know what's coming up in my Rotary Club. I keep a spreadsheet of all of my potential, I think I have about 275 people on there in my community area, of people that are potential Rotarians, even though they may never join. I still, that way I've got a list. I don't have a whole bunch of slips of paper like my desk normally looks like, but I've got a list of all of the people. I've got their contact information, and I keep the note of the last time I contacted them and what I invited them to. And I keep inviting them pretty much to the point that I get a court order. So it works out pretty good. Eventually, people may say no to you 5 times, but the 6th time it may just fit and they'll come in and get a chance to see you. But again, I urge you, think about what you invite them to. Do something that is awesome for them to see. So always keep those lists, always pay attention to those people. The other options that are available to you, there are business publications, the Downriver Profile, and I don't want Robin to hear this, but I scour that magazine for every new business in the area and every article, and I contact those people every chance I get to see if they're interested in promoting their business and coming in. I follow up on membership leads from the RI. That's one of my jobs as district membership chair. And let me give you a little story about that. When we get a membership lead from RI, usually it's somebody that's very motivated to get involved with us for one reason or another. They don't know how to contact us, so they search Rotary and they find RI and they fill out a little membership lead and it comes right in. I'm with those people within a day. I'm talking to them. I email them. I start communicating with them. I find out where they're living, where they work, and I try to find clubs that might fit their particular area of need. In other words, where it's easy for them to get to, where it's something that might be of interest to them. Once I get 4 or 5 different clubs that I think will fit this person, I then contact those presidents and membership chairs and tell them, hey, I have a potential member for you guys. It would be good if you let me know that you're going to get back with this person, invite them into an event to get to meet you and explain to them what your particular expectations are for members of Rotary. And I'll tell you a little story. There was one gal that I had not too long ago, very, very nice young lady, wanted to be involved in about 5 Rotary clubs fit her needs, so it would work out for her. So I contacted all 5 clubs and only one club got back with me. That club now has a new member. So think about what happens when you don't pay attention to that stuff. These people are actively, they're just excited about getting involved in Rotary. And when nobody gets back with them for a while, we tend to lose them. So stay on top of that. When you get an email from me, it's not always something that you want to ignore. A lot of times it's a potential new member and you may have that. Moving on, let's go into the final area that we want to talk about, which is something that was surprising to me. Years ago, I started doing exit interviews on people that left my club. And when I do an exit interview, I take the time to call them up. Sometimes it'll be a few months later, and I'll call them up and I'll either go to a neutral site and we'll have a cup of coffee, or I'll stop by their place of business and sit and talk with them. I go on their turf. I go where they're comfortable, and I sit down with them, and I eventually, after talking to them, I get to find out why they left Rotary. And once in a while, it's simply a bad fit. We didn't do a very good job of explaining what Rotary was about. They joined for what they thought it was about, and it wasn't what they wanted. But most of the time, it's because we didn't deliver on what we promised. And Nick has alluded to this over and over, and I will reiterate it again. Deliver on the value propositions of Rotary. I've had members who left my club tell me, I came, but I wanted to be involved in learning leadership, and nobody asked me to do anything. I wasn't put on a committee. I wasn't involved in any service whatsoever. There are all types of reasons that people leave your club. You will be surprised what you learn when you sit down with that person and do an exit interview and find out why it is they left Rotary. It will stop you from maybe losing the next one. So think about that. At this point, we're going to move on to a Q&A and wrap up. But first of all, I want to send out a big thanks and another thumbs up to my partner for tonight, Nick Krasich. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate everything that you've done. You worked really hard on this. Your commitment and experience to membership is just phenomenal, and we appreciate that very much. So with that, I want to move into Q&A. So if anybody has questions, you can text.
Well, I've got a couple I can pass on to you that came from the chat room. First of all, I want to say thanks, Nick and Steve. These guys worked hard. They practiced in advance, and it was pretty clear that it was a well-rehearsed show, and we thank them for the effort they put into training us on membership in our district, such an important thing. We have a question from ML. She says, Nick, it sounds like you invite potential members to 3 meetings and then they can join LaSalle. Do you have any screening prior to them becoming a member?
Thank you for the question, ML. As a general rule, most of our membership leads come from our own members. I'd say 95 to 99%. So as a general rule, they've been vetted by the individual already. The occasional member, for example, Steve Ollis sent us a membership lead through the website that he got through Rotary International. And it's interesting. She only has attended our meetings via Zoom since this pandemic started. And in those cases, we may be a little more cautious and want them to attend 5 or 6 or 7 meetings. And vet them a little more carefully because we really don't have a personal relationship. And once we get a good feel for a member like that, then we'll decide as a club whether we want to admit them or not. But most of the times they're personal. And as an interesting anecdote, Rotary membership as a general rule is our responsibility that comes from our own membership. Now, a very startling statistic. Only 12% of Rotarians ever in their lifetime of Rotary ever ask someone to become a member of Rotary. I'll leave you with that startling statistic. So people always ask me, and we didn't go into it a lot, but we have a little bit of time and it's a short, whose job in the club is membership? And everyone will always jump up and say, it's the whole club's job for membership. And personally, that does not work because not everyone in the club is interested in membership. And the majority of the members aren't interested in membership. So in our club, what worked is you need to find, whether you're the president or the membership chair, you need to find 1, 2, 3, or 4 committed people and go after your membership leads with the tools that Steve just gave you and the tools that we just gave you. And I think we have found that's just simply reality. So I hope that answers your question to some degree.
Thanks, Nick. I'd like to add to that. When I was a member of my club before the district governor years, I hardly wore my Rotary pin or Rotary shirts outside a club or Rotary activity. Once I was in the district governor chain, I thought, you know, I've got to embrace this. And I wore Rotary paraphernalia all the time. And everyone that I knew that I was in Rotary. And the consequence of that is that people start asking you questions, and they want to get into your network of people. Who do you know that can help us with this? Who do you know that can help us with this? And now I'm proud to say that in our satellite club of about 25 members, over half I've sponsored into Rotary, just because I let people know that this is what I did, and I talked about what Rotary does, and then sooner or later they say, hey, how do I get to be part of that organization? So be proud of what you're in. It's an amazing organization that will help you attract members. I want to give a shout out to Heinz Plowman from Woodhaven, Brownstown. He says he has run many leadership workshops. How can he help your clubs as a trainer and speaker? So if you want to take advantage of his expertise, it's Heinz Plowman from Woodhaven, Brownstown. Are there any other questions here? Robin, yep, unmute yourself and away you go.
I have a potential new member, young member. It's exciting. And she said to one of the other members, she goes, I want to join. Well, she's only been on Grosse Ile for a couple of years now. And so I said, okay, tell me a little bit about her, blah, blah, blah. And she was on just one of our Zooms. So the person that wants her to join called me up and she said, Robin, I'd really like for you to have her join immediately. And I said, I prefer not to do that because she's only been on one Zoom meeting. And so anyway, so I called her today and had a personal one-on-one chat with her, asking her why she would like to become a member of Rotary. And we talked on and on. And I says, well, I would like for you to get on at least 3 Zoom meetings right now. And then we'll talk about it a little further about that, get to know us a little bit, let us get to know you. So I've kind of got that just through the years, but the question I have is, you have somebody young that wants to consider Rotary because they want to be involved in the community. With everything being Zoom right now, I'm a little skeptical going, okay, because we don't have these big service projects and a lot of hands-on things we're doing right now. And I don't want to get somebody in and they're like, oh, okay, this is another Zoom kind of thing. Even though she's young, it's probably gonna work out great. But what is your thought on that? Because it's Zoom and it's fellowship and service. So kind of the situation when I go, okay, do I get her to join in, in a few weeks or down the road here? Obviously it's a yes, but how do we nurture that?
Steve, why don't you take that one?
Thanks, Robin. Appreciate the question. Actually, it's a really good question in today's era. What I would think about doing is I would reverse the process. I would talk to her specifically. What in this time do you think you would like to do in service? What would you like to get involved in? What do you think you can do at this point in time? Maybe it's something we haven't even thought of. So kind of put them in that spot where they're feeling like they're now a part of the process, so that they feel that they're contributing to this kind of service. And again, I take you back to Nick's application form that I use in my club. I really want to know why people want to join Rotary. I'm interested, and I've made this mistake. I've asked somebody to be treasurer of the club just because they're a CPA, and I thought, oh, it's a perfect fit. And it turns out it's the last thing they wanted to do. They wanted to do something with membership, or they wanted to do something with youth exchange because they want to get away from their job. So talk to them, find out what they feel from it.
Steve, I think that's a really good point, that some people want to join an organization to give them something different than their professional life. And we sometimes forget that. Nick wanted to jump in, and then I want to ask Bruce Golson to say a little something about the Passport Service Club. Nick, go ahead.
And I think to Robin's point is the younger folks, these virtual platforms are right up their alley. This is what they've grown up with. This is what they know. And I've been on multiple Zoom meetings around the world in the last couple months, and I have seen several new members being inducted into the club on virtual meetings and Zoom because that's all they've known during the pandemic. So I think we need to look at it as a prime opportunity for membership growth for young people who know this platform, who embrace this platform. The time for service, for hands-on service will come. And I think educating them about what the club has done and what they will do, but using the platform for fellowship and for networking and for all the other value propositions that we mentioned, I would embrace them as a new member. And I think we were just talking about this the other day. It behooves us now to come up with a really cool virtual induction
Sorry
for new
about that.
members.
So the
to make them
Passport Club
feel
is
special
basically a
and
hybrid
warm
club.
on
It's
this platform.
between a traditional e-club and a traditional bricks and mortar club that meets at a breakfast, lunch, dinner, cocktail hour, whatever. Why do we have Passport Clubs? The main reason is to give people an opportunity to still work in wherever community they happen to be living. Passport Clubs are ideal for people who don't have a regular schedule, somebody who is a snowbird, somebody who travels a lot for work, but they still have ties to their community and they still want to have that fellowship that once COVID-19 is behind us, we'll be back together again in person. So we want to encourage you, all of the folks who have traditional club meetings, but have people who won't join you because of that impediment of not being able to go to your regular meetings, to refer them to our Passport Club, because those people will be encouraged to join your club's service projects and fundraisers, so that when they're in their community that you happen to be in, they can help out. And have the problem with e-clubs traditionally is that they're missing that component of fellowship and of being along with people in their communities. So we really want to bolster our membership and yours with this Passport Club. And we made a major stride. Sue had a brainstorm this week that there's a club in our district that's been struggling, the Plymouth Rock Club, After Hours Plymouth Club, and we're in danger of going bye-bye. And so we are going to take over their charter and rename them as the Passport to Service Club. So that should happen in the next few weeks, just prior to Governor Knoll taking over on July 1st. So we didn't gain an extra club in the district, but we didn't lose a club either. So we're net zero on that one. But if anybody has any questions, always happy to help. Contact me offline and we can help with that.
Yeah, Bruce, I just have a comment. We had the one question from Robin was about projects that we can do during the COVID period time. And then also projects, when are projects going to be available for the Passport Club if somebody's in town? So you go to the Rainbow Connection, and in the Rainbow Connection, one of the connections is going to be community service. And in the community service area, you'll be able to find out about all of the service activities that are taking place in all of the clubs, with all of the different ideas that you can have for doing service projects. So it's going to be a really great way to bring together all those ideas and then have somebody that you can go right to ask questions and find out how we can do those things. And it's going to be a great asset, I think, for the Passport Club. When you're in town and you want to get involved in some service activity, you just go to that part of the Rainbow Connection, find out what's going on, and get connected.
We'll take any resource that we can get for that, absolutely. So I guess Rick has left me to close out the meeting. Any other last minute questions here? Check my chat box real quick. Nope. And let's see. Guy Bardsley said we at Northville maintain some little free libraries, that we have now converted one to a little free pantry. And they're not the only club I've heard about that's doing that. So some clubs have taken their libraries and made them into pantries and given put food in there and stock them on a regular basis. So great idea. Thanks everybody for joining us. And once again, District Assembly continues for the next 2 nights, right? And then, or at least the next night. And then join us June 11th and 12th for our virtual district conference. Details are on the district website at rotary6400.org. Anybody else have anything for the good of the order? With that, have a great evening, everybody. We are adjourned.